Hey, so this is going to be a video on troubleshooting the adductor pullback. There are a lot of different names for this just because it's getting watered down across the internet. But at its simplest, there are three steps that are necessary to complete this movement. And we're going to go over these three steps. The whole purpose of it, why are we doing it? We're doing this to improve upon how the femur moves within the acetabulum, or in a little more layman's words, it's how the leg bone moves within the hip bone. So if the leg bone, this big guy, can move a little bit more authentically within the hip bone, then we're going to get a little better motion and we're going to move a little bit better. That's at its simplest and its easiest. In the context of athletic movements, it allows a little bit more internal rotation to occur, which will help with loading and to also further go into unloading or force production. All right, so internal rotation aids with force absorption. And then once you get out of that internal rotation into whatever other movements you're doing, external rotation, abduction, etc., perhaps sprinting, jumping, throwing, etc., you're going to be able to better express force production. So we're going to go into what it looks like from a couple different angles. I'll show you one laying down like this, and then we're going to go another version, another profile view. On top of this, I've done this with a lot of different individuals. It's not just going to be done on one side only. It's going to be done on both sides. Reason being is it's good for both sides because cognitively we need to recognize what it means to feel both sides. If we express a limited range of motion in one side or the other, sometimes we are not aware of why we are not feeling that lack of range of motion despite expressing that lack of range of motion. So there's a bit of a cognitive discrepancy when it comes into, okay, I have a limited range of motion in one leg, I don't have a limited range of motion in the other leg, but I can't feel the difference between either of them. So we're going to do it on one side and then the other side, so we become more cognitively aware of how to move our body. And it's not just because of a muscular reason, it's so our brain will begin to recognize how to do these movements and how to feel these movements on a sensory level. So at its easiest, it's a sensory exercise. All right, so I'll show you laying down, and I'm going to use this marker later on. So 3 steps for this adductor pullback are going to be the setup or laying down. So I often teach people to do this laying down like they're going to sleep, okay? So most individuals, if you are a human being, I'm assuming you have a bed, you're gonna be laying down in the bed. So doing this exercise after you wake up and then before you go to sleep are both really easy ways to get this exercise in your day before you do anything. So you're laying down. The 3 steps are gonna be pulling this leg back. So step 1, pulling back. Step 2, going down with this top knee. And then step 3 is rotating the femur, not so much the foot, to get this motion of rotation. All right, so that was the easy part. The troubleshooting part is getting all the things moving in the right way. So, meaning if I show you this movement, this knee needs to travel in this direction. But as I do it, you're going to notice that if I'm fully rotated in this position, I'm stacked on top of my body. If I do this, I start to open up. And this starts to roll back this way. So this is my right leg, I'm turning towards my left. So that's step 1 where things can go awry. All right. Step 2 is this knee can come up because I'm rolling so much. So I'm going to keep my knees flush to each other. And then I'm going to pull back, step 1. All right. And then step 2, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to make sure that this guy stays here. Step 2 is going to be pushing down into the other knee. I might have a pillow. I might have some type of block, depending on what's going on. But step 2 is pushing downwards. I should be really feeling the inside groin here. And then step 3 is going to be rotation. So you might see a lot of individuals kind of throw their leg up like this and then kind of move on with their day. But we're going to keep things very straightforward and very simple and say that that's not the case, because we're going to bring this knee back first, step 1. We're going to keep step 1 and go into step 2. And then step 3 is going to make sure that this quad, the top of this quad, rotates inwards. So I'm not really worried about where this leg is going over here, this foot, this part of my lower leg, because I can just kind of do whatever I want with this foot and not feel the right muscles. All right, so that's kind of where we're going with this. We want to feel the right things on a sensory level. So let me show you more specifically what these things look like from a different angle. All right, so recap, step 1, boom, step 2, push down, step 3, good. So we're going to show you from the profile view or the top view of what it looks like if a practitioner would be helping you and coaching you along this movement and this exercise technique. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to use a little bit of a different cue here that many are not used to doing. I'm going to go over the same exact steps. This is nothing that I haven't gone over already. So I'm laying down. Step one, I'm also going to make sure that I do have a little bit of a posterior pelvic tilt. I'm just going to make sure that I get my abdominals going via the exhalation aspect. So setup is right here. Everything's set up in this position. So I'm going to set my abdominals, which attach to the rib cage and pelvis. So I'm going to go exhaling there until I feel the top obliques. I might feel both. That's fine. I just don't want to feel my six-pack muscle because that'll take too much out of the equation there. All right, so I want to make sure that I feel my obliques. So step one, pull backwards. So this knee is going to go into this direction. And I'm going to feel something in the back of my hip, inside groin perhaps, maybe the hamstring. Step two goes down. And then step three, I'm going to think of this quad is going to rotate inwards, which is going to lift this foot up as a cause of that, as an effect of rotating this. All right, so what I'm going to do to demonstrate this, whether I use this analogy, I'm going to think of either an arrow going through my quad here, and then what I'm going to do is if I just stay right where I am, step one, step two goes down, and then step three, I'm going to think of pointing this arrow down to the ground. Okay, so it's not going to just be, you can see if I move my foot, I can move my foot without getting my quad to move at all. All right, versus if I go step one, step two, and then I want to move my quad and rotate it, versus just going boom. Get a little bit of quad motion, but I'm thinking of just raising my foot up. See, if you do that, you get a little bit of accessory motions. Another way to go about this is seeing, okay, maybe I can get the first step, I can get the second step, I feel all the right things, but the third step is hard because I don't know how to rotate this guy. So if I was to demonstrate and actually draw like a big X or a circle on my quad, all right, so this is the middle of my leg, draw a really big X for you guys. So that right there is what I'm going to rotate, okay? So we're going to rotate this X downwards. So if you can see that, what we're going to do is step one, it goes this way. Step two, it goes down into the opposite leg. Step three, you should see it moving downwards, and this is pretty intense for me. Okay, so we're just going to make sure that we go in, step two down, step three, this guy is going to move inwards, and that is the movement.